Hello guys, welcome back to Tactical Trafford. And today we talk about Viktor Gyökeres. That's actually the name on everybody's list as he's one of the hottest striker in Europe. So we are going to be talking about Viktor Gyökeres today. So guys, let's dive into this video. So the first characteristics of Viktor Gyökeres we are going to be going into is his possession base. If you look at his touches, Viktor Gyökeres has an inflated touch, which means that he's a guy that likes to get involved with possession. He likes to drop deep from the central backs and play with the team. He's a striker that likes his team to hold more of the possession. That's actually a positive for any team he's going to be playing for, because he's a player that likes to hold possession, to hold up play. But this is where actually his limitations comes into, because he's somebody that he doesn't have the tough arms like Harry Kane, like Erling Haaland to shrug off competent defenders or aggressive defenders. He's somebody that thrives on freedom. He's somebody that thrives on space. He likes a lot of freedom, which he's not going to get obviously in the Premier League for any side. So he's a player that likes a lot of freedom when he's on possession. He doesn't like when he's being pressured or when he's being marked by an aggressive central back. He's going to be actually pressured to make mistake passes or maybe make a few wrong passes. So this is actually one of the limitations in possession for Viktor Gyökeres, as he likes to thrive on freedom. He likes to run into half spaces. He likes to play with a lot of freedom behind his back, because as you know, in the Portuguese league he plays with a lot of inferior defenders. So that's actually one of the issues that many teams are facing in trying to get Viktor Gyökeres, because you don't know if that possession base, that hold up is going to be translated into the Premier League. As you all know, that Manutd has similar hold up play. He was doing well in the Portuguese league, but he couldn't transform that to the Premier League. So that's actually one of the red flags of Viktor Gyökeres, because when he's being pressured by a competent central back, he tends to make wrong passes, and his turning most of the times are too slow. And when as a striker you're not fast enough to turn, it's going to be actually a problem. Like if you look at the case of Harry Kane and Erling Haaland, they are very strong physical strikers that can be able to hold up their defenders with their strong arms and be able to turn quickly. But that's not really the case most of the times for Viktor Gyökeres. So that's what we have for the possession of Viktor Gyökeres. So guys, let's talk about the heading of Viktor Gyökeres. Before we talk about the heading of Viktor Gyökeres, let's talk about actually a little bit on the concerns of the strikers from the Portuguese league. Before now, Manutd from Porto scored 42 goals. He's actually one of the strikers that have actually excelled in the Portuguese league, and that's actually 24 years ago. And also the last striker in the last decade that was able to succeed in the Portuguese league was Manutd, which is one of the greatest number 9 in world football. So this is actually the forwarders that actually excelled in the Portuguese league, and they also went to other leagues, other top 5 leagues, to prove it. Apart from him, other players that have actually excelled in Portuguese league has not really excelled in the top 5 league, which is actually one of the reasons why a lot of teams are not really in for Viktor Gyökeres, because I know that one of the reasons that makes Manchester United links to Viktor Gyökeres is Ruben Amorim. So let's go over to his header. His heading is one of his most worst abilities, from the timing, from the leap, from the execution, from the jumping and all that. Is actually a player that does not really excel in headers. If you look at his headers per 90 minutes, Nicolas Jackson has more headers per 90 minutes than Viktor Gyökeres. That actually shows you that he's not the player that actually excels in nodding the ball, in heading the ball. He's a player that actually likes to get the ball on his feet, run the channels, and do other duties of an attacking, of a central striker. He's not the player that actually excels in heading the ball. So guys, let's talk about the chance creation and the work rate of Viktor Gyökeres. Viktor Gyökeres is the kind of player, when he talks about his chance creation, he's the player that actually excels in chance creation. He creates a lot of assists. If you look at his assists for the last 2 seasons for Sporting Lisbon, it's actually very, very nice, because he's a player that looks to run the channel regularly. He's a player that actually runs the channel, and this running of the channel makes him to be up against full backs. And when he runs the channel, it causes his teammates, maybe the left wing back or maybe any of the 10s, to run into that central area, and then chances are created. If you watch the game against Manchester City, that was one of the ways a goal was scored by Pedro Gonçalves. He actually ran the channel, took away 2 central backs, and it cost Pedro Goncalves to run into the channel, run into the central area, and then a chance was created and Sporting CP scored. So that's one of the ways that Viktor Gyökeres excels. He's a player that excels in chance creation, and he can give assist in any way, using outside of his foot, using any kind of way, cutbacks, crosses. If you look at his crosses by 90 minutes, actually very nice for his center striker. He's a player that actually excels in crossing and creating chances for his teammates by running the channels. So if you look at his work rate, Viktor Gyökeres is a very energetic player. He's a player that can run 90 minutes non-stop, but this doesn't actually tells well on his defensive rate. He doesn't have actually a very nice defensive rate because he tends to run the channel most of the matches, so he doesn't really get involved in defenses, and his defensive approach is a little bit chaotic for a center striker. So most of the times he doesn't really get it right in his defensive approach, and this makes his opposition team to actually anticipate whenever it's coming, and then maybe they might set their body or maybe try to make him commit a foul. So his defensive approach is actually a little bit chaotic, but when it comes to his work rate, he's a player that has a actually wonderful work rate, and he can run for 90 minutes of the game. So guys, let's talk about the profiling of Viktor Gyökeres. Viktor Gyökeres is a player that is actually very physically strong, and he relies too much on that part of his game, and he's somebody that can be able to shrug off defenders and run for very large distances. He's very not really good in running short distances, but he's actually very good in running for a very long distance, running channels regularly, playing wonderful football, actually at the flank. So most of the times in games, Gyökeres is a striker that actually feels like, if you watch him in some games, you feel actually that he's a winger, but he's not a winger. He's a striker that actually likes to run the channel regularly. So what does he really tell about his profile, and what team is he going to actually fit in the Premier League? So one of the things I'm going to say is that Viktor Gyökeres is actually a player that cannot be suited to a possession-based side like an Arsenal, like a Man City, like a team that plays a possession-based football. And given the fact that Ruben Amorim is actually Manchester United, actually he's going to be suited to the Manchester United play style. He's also going to be suited to be an Ancelotti kind of football, because Ancelotti is actually a coach that likes to play on transition. So he's going to be suited to Manchester United or Liverpool, because if you watch Mo Salah in Liverpool, he's given a lot of freedom up top to run the channels, to run for very large distances. Viktor Gyökeres is a striker that can be able to give us that. And because I'm talking based on the context of Manchester United, if you put Viktor Gyökeres in a Manchester United team, he's going to excel in running the channel, because this is what Ruben Amorim wants from his striker. This is what he wants from his number 9, to regularly run the channels, pull central backs away from their position, and then create chances. But what does this actually mean for Viktor Gyökeres? One of the disadvantages of playing the Manchester United team is that Manchester United tends to go long whenever they are being pressed or whenever they cannot play from the back. And you know, Viktor Gyökeres, from what I've explained so far in this video, he's a player that doesn't really excel when he's being pressured or when he's being asked to play in tight spaces. So this is where the problem comes in. He will not be able to play in tight spaces. He will not be able to turn sharply to shrug off opposition and play against competent and aggressive central backs, which is going to actually be a problem for Manchester United. So guys, this is what I have for the Viktor Gyökeres video for today. This is actually the tactical analysis of Viktor Gyökeres directly from Tactical Trafford. So I want you guys to give me a comment down below about where do you feel Viktor Gyökeres is going to fit: Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea. Where do you actually feel that Viktor Gyökeres is going to fit in the Premier League? Because this has been an issue for the last decade. Apart from Ramadan Falcao in the last decade, no striker has actually come out from the Portuguese league and excelled in the top 5 league in Europe. So guys, I want you guys to give me your thoughts about Viktor Gyökeres and where you feel he's going to excel in the Premier League. Ciao.